Hello, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we've got a lighthouse today. It's just me and Jesse, and we are here to do the NFL Week 8 NFC Home Game Fantasy Football Preview. How's it going, Jesse?
It's going good. I really enjoyed last week's performance. We saw finally the breakout Dalton Kincaid, which I was pounding the table for. So that was nice to see. That's my big takeaway from that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to these spooky games I got coming up because it's Halloween. I got my outfit showed up today. So yeah, we were going good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Can you close it, please? One second. Sorry, I started a podcast and my kid decided he wanted to play his Pokemon Go game behind me, behind the screen here. And I'm like, you're going to have to be in here for an hour. And 30 seconds into the podcast, he decided he'd like to go back in the living room.
I was like, nah.
Like, nope, I'm having a good week. I tell you, I don't normally, whether it be podcasts, articles, or whatever, once I'm done, I don't ever go back and I don't watch my own stuff. I don't read my own articles. I'm not big on going back, and whether it be, I missed or hit, I don't really like to go back. Once it's done, it's done. But I was scrolling through some of my, I think we're week 8. I think I've done the Fantasy Pros 2 or 3 of their featured analyst articles every week where they grab 10 or 12 of us and we do our one's sit start, one's buy low, one's something like that. Anyways. Mm-hmm. And I look, and I've done their sit start 6 weeks in a row. I should really start listening to my own advice because I don't know if I just put more effort into it because I'm like, it's Fantasy Pros, I can't fuck this up. But
mm-hmm.
So needless to say, that transitions into what you were saying of my start of the week was Dalton Kincaid. So that one looked real good, and I kind of wanted to go post it in victory lap it there. So
heck yeah, I mean, might as well have some fun with it. It's like, yeah, check it out. It's like, I am awesome at this.
I've had a few in a row where I was like, oh, I had Madison as a dud one week, and I'm going, oh man, I look great here. Everything's going well, but right. Let's get into this shit. If I can bring the graphics up, we've got a barn burner. Why did they put us on the side like that? That's what. Right there. I wish there was one of these days, I wish I could configure this better to actually, it's a big pain in the ass. And I'm just too busy, but we got Eagles. We've got Commanders. This should be a one-sided shitfest here. Second best matchup for Jalen Hurts, as if you were benching him anyways. He has QB1 potential every week, but he has it more so this week. The other side of the ball, we got Sam Howell, 11th best matchup. I like Sam Howell in a 2 QB league or super flex if I have to play him. He is not safe. He is either going to put up 30 for you or 3. There is no in between. So I don't mind starting him. As I mentioned yesterday, I had a little graphical glitch here, and I was doing my started fantasy points article, which you can check out on the League Winners Fantasy Football Alchemy. So instead of our actual points, you've got the started fantasy points totals for each of these players. Which is why you're wondering, how did Jalen Hurts score 179.9246? That's what happens when you take his points scored this season and you multiply or divide it. I forget my formula. Anyways, divide it by the start percentage for him on the season. That's why you get fucked up decimals. He hasn't actually scored that. But so, what are your thoughts here on QB situation?
So if you just look at this difference in points, it's so telling, these guys' fantasy asset. Hurts has been the guy every week. Even his low performances are still good for you. Howell is such a boom bust, low end. He's a high end QB2 for me, but most people are treating him as a QB1. He's just a boom bust asset. And the thing with the Eagles is they can get pressure and pressure a lot. Sam Howell takes by far the most sacks in the league. I think he's on pace for 97 or something ridiculous on the year. The guy is just a sack machine. So that's kind of his biggest issue. If he could ever fix that, I would be so much more bullish on him long term. But he does score fantasy points because he's mobile and he has a good team around him. So overall, he's not the worst asset to go with this week. I just don't trust him in this matchup at all. I have him QB 16 and I feel weird about it just because the Eagles defense is that good where they can just destroy him. Hurts, he's my QB1. It's just you just roll them and go with that. And I think I lost Aaron here. So we'll talk about this a little bit more. But yeah, so with these two assets, it's just that's how it is, right? And we'll get into the running backs here. Let me pull this up for you guys. We had a feeling this might happen, so we're pulling this up to talk about that. As we go on to sleeper, we'll jump into the running backs. DeAndre Swift is a very quality running back. He hasn't had a lot of boom performances this week or the last few weeks, as you can see, but it's just he's in the best offense in the league with the rushing attack in that offense where it just sets up so well for him. They limit his weaknesses, and it just makes him locked in, like high-end RB2, low-end RB1 each week, where you can just count on, a solid performance. He just needs the touchdowns to get there. On the flip side, Brian Robinson is an extremely risky asset. He's good in good game script, and he's bad in bad game scripts. And the Eagles are heavy favorite in this game. So Brian Robinson is well down my rankings this week. I really am trying to pivot away from him if you have a better option, because it's just treacherous. I think he is, let me see what he's in my rankings. He is RB like 35 for me. So he's not even really an RB3. He's like more closer to an RB4 for me. I'm just trying to pivot off. If you need to go with Gibson instead of him this week, Gibson will be used, and you can see how their fantasy points are scored, and you can see the difference between them. Robinson, he gives you decent performances each week in and out, right, where he gets you 7, 8 in these low game scripts. Gibson's been kind of hit or miss, but he's like 5, 8, 10. It's kind of similar. So I know people are worried about Gibson. On the flip side, there's Chris Rodriguez, who is starting to chip away at Brian Robinson's overall workload, so there's that on top of it, where he's seen a little bit of work, and the Commanders in the offseason said they had a 3rd round grade on Rodriguez. Don't ask me how they got that. I don't understand that, but that's what they had. So they've been pretty bullish on him, and he's starting to see a little bit more work. So that is going into why I'm a little bit rolling on Brian Robinson. And on the other side, like, you really don't want to start any other running back outside of Swift. It's too treacherous. Maybe Gainwell or Scott gets a touchdown, but you can't count on it. Now, when we go down to the wide receivers in this matchup, A.J. Brown is proving he is the alpha of a wide receiver on that team. I know there was a lot of talk this offseason how him and Smith split, and it looked pretty even, but realistically, A.J. Brown's the guy, and he gets a great matchup against the Washington defense, so he is a top 3 wide receiver for me this week. I think he's the only guy ahead above Stephon Diggs in the rankings, where I was like, we are rolling with A.J. Brown, and we are rolling with him no matter what. He has 5 straight games of 125 yards or more, so A.J. Brown is absolutely rolling, and you want to hop onto this train while it's still rolling. It's going great. We're just going to keep riding this out. When we get to Devontae Smith, he's just a very good wide receiver. So I know he hasn't produced at the level, right? But he's still a top 20 wide receiver for me this week. I think I actually have him a little bit below Terry. So the way I'm doing it is I have, hey, welcome back, Terry R.
Yeah, I'm not back. I'm on my cell phone. I don't know. It's so weird because my computer I think it's fried. So it dies out after like 3 minutes and then will allow me to do the rest of the 55-minute podcast. So I'm on my cell phone while I wait for this to reload. And then next time, from now on, I think I'm going to start streaming on that wonderful new expensive computer I bought my 9-year-old. So
there you go. Yeah, so it doesn't crash on you. Yeah, it makes sense.
So you're handheld for right now. So we're rolling off of your graphics because I'm on my cell phone, which has incredibly high resolution video. I didn't realize how old I look. Jeez. I am not a face made for HD.
You're like, how about that? I'm a radio face, like we all are, right? So yeah. It's
face made for radio.
I was just talking about the wide receivers. A.J. Brown's like a must start, and then Terry's like a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. Smith, he's a low end wide receiver 2, and then we get to kind of Samuel, who I trust over Dotson. I think Samuel's like my wide receiver. What is he, 38 or something? I'm not sure. I need to find him, but yeah, I have him above Dotson. Yeah, 45. Sorry, and then. Like, you can't really start anybody else outside those 2 guys. So it's just the 2 Eagles wide receivers you're starting each week in and out, and then Terry. And then Samuel's kind of a flex play if you want. But outside of that, I don't really – okay, go.
At this point, Samuel's bordering territory where he may be above Devonta Smith pretty soon.
Yeah, if it continues.
Been terrible.
So it's been really weird with Smith. Like, he's seeing a decent amount of targets each week, but he's just not converting to fantasy points. Like, he's wide receiver 31 on the year, but man, it does not feel like good at all considering where you got him, right? I think his lowest targets in a game is 5, but like if you would have told me that, I'd be like, you're lying. I feel like he's had some bagels in there. So yeah, it just is what it is. And it's like this Washington matchup's a really good matchup, so it's kind of hard to fade him too much in this matchup, but like if you got to fade him, you got to fade him, I guess. So like I get it. And then we go to the tight ends. Dallas Goedert, I know you've been particularly low on him going into this whole process. Like you're saying, he's never been above tight end 10, but like 1. Yeah, exactly. Because there's not that many good tight ends. I think I have him to a top 6 tight end this week. The rugs kind of come out from under Logan Thomas, so he does not seem as safe as he did a few weeks ago. But, if you want to fire him up, I get it. I really just don't trust him in this matchup. It seems a little bit riskier. He's tight end 21 for me. So you can take that out for what you want if you want to roll Thomas, but ideally I wouldn't want to do that.
Computer change.
Hey. He's like, and I'm back. You're just like, just keep rotating through all of them. You're just like, all right, this is my fifth change. Hold on, scene, and go.
Well, no, I was smart because I know this has happened twice in a row after that storm. I think surged my computer or something and fried it. So I was smart, and before the show started, I sent myself a link. You'll see in the chat why I sent a link to the StreamYard. That's in case I get myself locked out, because I had the problem the other day where this happened and I went to go into the stream on my phone, and I'm like, oh, I'll just drop in. And then I realized we're streaming on the league winners, not my own. My phone is logged into my own personal StreamYard. So I made sure to send myself the link this time. I guess I could have just asked you for it, but
that's smart. No, yeah, you're good. That's actually a good idea.
Okay, let me bring my graphic up. Not sure how long we'll last. Oh, never mind. Might as well just wrap it up with what you got there, because
all right.
I already have the next graphic up. So yeah, tight ends, we've got what? Let's start Goddard as a mid-range tight end 1, Logan Thomas as a low end. Yep. The kickers, you're starting Elliott, you're not starting Sly. I don't mind starting either defense, but I think the Eagles are top 3. The Commanders are probably a borderline start if you have to.
Yeah, if you're desperate, you could roll with the Commanders defense, but like it's just treacherous against the Eagles offense, man. Like they do worry me in this matchup, and everything that's going on with like the trade potential with Montez Sweat and those guys, like things are kind of up in the air for them. So yeah, like you can stream them, but I would just look elsewhere ideally if you have better options personally.
All right, let's see if we can get this back on track. Got Browns at Seahawks. I was doing this in my Survivor Pool article yesterday, so I don't know if they've changed since tonight, but I looked yesterday and the Seahawks were favored in this one by 3. How's that possible? Why are the Seahawks favored by 3? They're not even the Browns are so much better. I mean, I get their offense sucks, but we'll start with that shitty offense.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. But yeah, you're still here, so you're good.
No, I said, is Watson back? Deshaun.
Oh no, he's out this week. So like they're rolling with what the hell's his name?
PJ
Walker or whatever. Yeah.
So PJ Walker in the 3rd worst matchup, Geno Smith in the 5th worst matchup. I don't mind starting Geno as a high-end QB2. I want no part of PJ Walker. He's absolutely unstartable. I get the hiccups now. So what do you think on these two lovely QBs in a great matchup?
It hasn't been a great year for Geno. It's been kind of disappointing, and we expected going into the year like it'd be wheels up for him, but like he's QB 22 on the year, and it hasn't clicked for them. Their offense has struggled, and we still don't know if DK's playing this week, so there's that on top of it. Where if he's missing DK, that's another good quality pass catcher of that offense, where it's just going to lower him even more. So, yeah, he's like a lower end QB2 for me. I'm going to start him in a couple superflex leagues because I have to. But besides that, this Browns defense is really good, man. Like they're one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league. So ideally, I'm just passing both these quarterbacks in this matchup.
All right, moving on to the running backs. Middle to low end matchup for Ken Walker. I don't care. Even against Cleveland's tough rush defense, I'm starting him anyway. I have Jerome Ford listed in here. I believe he's out, so it's going to be Kareem Hunt and Pierre Strong. It's a bad matchup anyway, so if desperation flex Kareem Hunt maybe, but I don't really want either of them. And Walker is still probably a top 6 for me. What do you think?
Yeah, so the Browns have the most of the points they've given up is the RB11 performance. I think that was last week. That was the most they've given up to any running back. Like that's the highest. So I have Walker as my RB12, but I am nervous about that ranking. Like he's going to need touchdowns to get there, I think, just because their defense is going to slow him down to a point. And on the flip side, it just depends how much work Hunt gets compared to Strong. He's going to get the high value touches where he's going to play the passing game and he's going to play the goal line. So just based on that alone, like I'm going to have him higher where he's going to be like a flex for me. Strong is just a dart throw. You're just hoping and praying it works out with Strong. So yeah, like I'll play Hunt. I'm obviously playing Walker, and I'm not really going to start Strong anymore.
Wide receivers, 13th best matchup for the Browns. I don't mind playing Cooper as a low end too. I don't think he's anything more than that with PJ Walker. I don't want any other receiver anyways. We'll get to the tight ends later. Second worst matchup for the Seahawks. If DK plays, I think you still start him as a 2. Lockett, I think you start as a 2 or a 3. And JSN, probably desperation. I'd rather just stash him and have him on my bench, but I guess there's desperation appeal, more so if Metcalf is out.
Yeah, I think JSN comes into play if Metcalf goes out. Then he's very much running all the routes, playing all of that, and he's going to be involved. So if Metcalf is out, like I'll probably have JSN ranked as a flex play. Lockett's going to be a wide receiver too. And then on the flip side, like Cooper's just a high-end wide receiver too. It's just PJ Walker's his quarterback, so it just limits him each week. So like I just, I'm going to be lower on him.
Tight ends, worst matchup for Noah Fant and the Seahawks. It doesn't matter. I'm not starting a Seahawks tight end anyways. They're all terrible. 7th worst matchup for David Njoku. He is probably a low-end 1, high-end tight end 2. I don't love playing him, but if you have him, you may have to. The kickers, we have 4th worst matchup for Jason Myers on the Seahawks. I don't want to play him. Middle of the pack matchup for Dustin Hopkins. I also don't want to play him. Dustin Hopkins, let me bring this up quickly. This is absolutely not important. I thought it was funny. Okay. If you see number 15th ranked player is Dustin Hopkins. If you look at him, does that not look like Tony Romo with a fake mustache on and dyed hair?
That's nice. I like that look.
He looks like Tony Romo in disguise. I don't know why I thought that was funny, but anyway, sorry. And the ESTs, worst matchup for the Browns. I don't really want to start them. I probably could if I have to. 5th best matchup for the Seahawks, so I don't mind starting them. Both of these guys are probably in the 10 to 15 range for me. You can start either. You kind of got to hope it stays a low-scoring game. Don't know if I want to start either, but I think you can start either. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd much rather play the Seahawks defense than the Browns. As good as the Browns defense are, like the Seahawks are playing against PJ Walker, and I just don't trust Walker. So like if a team's playing against PJ Walker each week, their defense is gonna be higher. I think Seahawks are top 5 for me this week. So yeah, I'm all aboard the Seahawks defense this week over the Browns.
That is true. All right, bringing up our next matchup, we have the Subway Series, Battle of the Jets and Giants. This is not as appealing as we thought it was going to be. Not that we thought it was going to be appealing, but we've got 22nd best matchup, so bottom 10, for bottom 12 for Zach Wilson. I'm not starting Zach Wilson unless it's a 3 QB league, so he's useless. 12th best matchup, for Daniel Jones, who is not playing. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. I don't want to start Tyrod. So I think in Superflex leagues, unless I have to start a 3rd QB with no bye weeks, I don't really want to start either quarterback in this matchup.
Yeah, I think I'd rather actually play Tyrod Taylor than Zach Wilson. Like he's taking shots downfield. It's weird. Like they're opening up the offense with him, and he's just not making the turnovers in the bad plays. So like I'm not high on him, but like between the two, that offense looks way better with him. It's just the Jets have a good defense. That's the problem.
I was gonna say I understand the logic, but I think I'd rather the guy not facing the Jets defense. So,
yeah, it does not surprise me. I wish I could just trust Zach Wilson.
I don't like either. Either way, don't play either.
Yeah.
Running back, we've got 8th best matchup for Breece Hall. I think he's about to come alive. He has a smash as a mid-range. I think he's still probably a low-end 1, but I think he has high-end 1 upside. I don't want anyone else in the backfield. Have they traded Dalvin Cook yet? They should.
They should absolutely should.
It's going to ruin Buffalo when both Cooks are in the same backfield. But 11th best matchup for the Giants. So Saquon Barkley is a high-end 1. So I think I'm starting both studs here as mid-range 1s to low-end 1s. And I don't want anyone else in the backfields. I think I'm taking Barkley over Hall. I think.
Yeah, they're both top 6 options for me this week, so I'm very bullish on these guys. Like the offense is going to revolve around these 2 options. We saw Saquon's usage; it's literally just off the charts. So like, and Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the league. So like, you just play these guys each week from here on out. Like it doesn't matter; they're just locked in RB1s.
I agree. Wide receivers, worst matchup in the league for the Giants. Doesn't matter. I'm not starting any of them. I just traded for Wan'Dale. He was a throw-in piece. I don't mind stashing him. He gets a lot of volume, but I don't want any Giants receiver, especially in the worst matchup. 12th best matchup for Garrett Wilson. Is that your Doug or mine?
That was mine.
12th best matchup. Mine's been going for like the last 10 minutes. For Garrett Wilson, he's the only pass catcher I want to start in this game. I think he gets back into the ranks of the wide receiver 2s, and he's kind of someone I'm looking to buy low because despite the quarterback play, I think he's about to come alive and end up back in the top 15. So I'll start Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 2 here, and I don't want anyone else.
Yep, I'm with you on that. If there's any giant I want to stash, it's going to be Hyatt, just because he brings a different element to that wide receiver room. But yeah, it's gross over there. I'm not starting any wide receiver unless I have to. And Garrett Wilson, he's just getting an insane amount of volume. So like, I get it lowers him, but he's still a wide receiver 2 each week for me.
Hyatt might be the 2023 version of Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, boom bust for sure.
One long touchdown when you don't have him in your lineup. Tight ends, we've got Conklin, 22nd best matchup. Not a great matchup, not a great tight end. Don't want any piece of it. Best matchup for tight ends for Darren Waller. I'm starting Waller as probably a mid-range tight end 1. I think he's probably got 4 to 6 is his range here. I don't think he's top 3, but I think he's definitely going to have enough where he should be 4, 5, or 6.
I have him and Laporta on the team, and I'm starting Waller over Laporta this week. So like, I'm all aboard Darren Waller. His usage has been like ridiculously good lately, and like, this is the Tyrod Taylor effect where it's working really well for him. So yeah, I'm rolling with Waller for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Kickers, it's a good matchup for Gano, but he hasn't been good. You probably don't have him on your lineup, so no need to pick him up to start him. Terrible matchup for Zerline, bad kicker. He should be on waivers. It is the number 1 matchup for the Jets DST, so they're probably a top 6 option for me, maybe 6 to 8. The Giants, it is 10th best matchup, so you can play the Giants if you need to, I think. I heavily prefer the Jets over the Giants here, but I think both are stream worthy if you got to.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, that's just exactly how I would say it.
All right. Let's game. I guess we can head into that Sam Laporta talk there. Sorry, I thought I had another game queued up, and then I went to hit up the next graphic, and I'm like, oh, I don't have another game queued up because I'm trying to go easy on my computer before it has another stroke on me. So we will continue on here with the Raiders and the Lions. This is a wonderful primetime matchup here for Monday Night Football. Quarterbacks, we have the 8th best matchup for what I expect to be Brian Hoyer. I want no part of him, even in Superflex. And we have a middle-of-the-pack matchup for Jared Goff, who I love this week so much that if you checked out my matchup guide graphic, you would see he's Russell Wilson, not Jared Goff. Goff I'm starting still probably this week as a high-end 2. I don't think he cracks low-end 1 this week. Yeah, it's possible. Borderline 1-2, and I want nothing to do with Hoyer. What do you think?
Yeah, Goff's right on that borderline you're talking about. I think he's QB12 for me. I don't know. He's in that range where it's like you're just starting him with confidence. I want all of the Lions pieces in this matchup, so I'm going to be starting like every line possible against this Raiders defense. It's truly atrocious, and they usually the way the Raiders like have success is they get pressure on the quarterback. With the Lions' offensive line, I know they had the disaster last week that was against the Ravens, but like they're going to protect Goff. He's going to be fine. Like you can count on Goff this week for sure.
All right, running backs. I believe David Montgomery is still out, correct?
I'm not. So like he's projected for points, but I haven't gotten a word officially. I know he's like possibly playing, but I don't know. It could be out.
It's weird because he's one of those. There's a handful of players where they were listed to have multiple week absences, and I just assumed they were on IR. And then I looked at him like, oh, I guess he's not even on IR. He never was, but not a great matchup. 23rd best for Gibbs and the Lions. If Montgomery's out, I'm smashing Gibbs. If Montgomery's in, I'm probably playing Gibbs. Either way, like I think Monty's a high-end 2. Gibbs is a low-end 2. On the Oakland Vegas side, 3rd worst matchup for Josh Jacobs. I don't care. I get the offensive line is terrible. I get the Lions only allow 43 yards most. I'm still starting Josh Jacobs as an RB2 on volume. I know it's terrible, and he could put up 20 yards on 20 carries, but I think you got to start him if you have him. You can't really afford to sit him. I don't particularly love any of the 3 running backs in this matchup, but I think you can start them all as various degrees of RB2 if you have to.
Yeah, it like you're saying, it depends on Montgomery. If Montgomery's out, Gibbs is going to be like a mid-level RB1 in this matchup. But yeah, Jacobs, I think I have him. The lowest I'll rank him is probably this matchup right here where he's like RB19, just because his volume is absurd. Like he's getting
still
elite. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you can't rank him lower than that. And it's low floor, but like the volume, like it could work out for him. So yeah, like I'm sorry, Jacobs.
I see shit like this all the time. No, not you didn't do it. You were agreeing with me, but like where it's like, oh, it's a terrible matchup, and his offensive line is terrible. You've got to sit Josh Jacobs. Well, it's like, even factoring in all those things, he's still RB19. How am I going to sit him? What am I going to sit him for? Gus Edwards? Like, what are we doing here? People get carried away. Yeah, people get carried away with the, I have to sit him this week. Well, no, you don't. He's still a top 20 running back. So, moving to the wide receivers, top 11 matchup for Devontae Adams and the Raiders. Starting Adams as a 1. Jacoby Myers is kind of a borderline 1-2, more likely a high-end 2. Fourth worst matchup for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Once again, I don't care. I'm starting him anyways. He's a wide receiver 1. I guess if I'm desperate, I can roll Josh Reynolds or Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, I haven't had time to get around to his video. It was unimpressive during my research, though. His one touchdown was basically luck. The defender kind of fell past him, and the ball just kind of fell into his arms. And he kind of got lucky. Like, he turned around and held his arms out, and the ball just was there. You know, kind of like Chris Godwin should have done last night. Just saying.
For real.
What was that? I was amazed that nobody's seen that at first. I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm going, there was nobody there. If he turns around a second earlier, the ball is right into Godwin's hands. But anyways.
I know. I was like, that was weird. It's like, okay, he just obviously didn't see it. But yeah, like with, I don't know. I'm just not interested in JMO. It's just like, whatever. But yeah, Amon-Ra is our wide receiver 1 forever. So like Adams and Jacoby Myers are converging in the rankings. Like they're getting really close back to back. It's just hard to ignore what Jacoby's doing. So like they're both mid-range wide receiver 2s in this matchup. Even with Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell, who's ever starting for the Raiders, like it's so locked in with those two. So like yeah, you just have to trust those two.
All right, moving on. Top 3 matchup for Mayer. I think I may have him on Fantasy Pros as my breakout for the week. Oh, no, I bumped him for Dalton Kincaid, but still, he's good. He's someone I like. I think the breakout for him is coming right after the breakout for Kincaid, and we're going to have 3 top 8 rookie tight top 8 rookie tight ends. Jesus Christ. Anyway, start Mayer as a low-end 1, I think. I know it's risky, but sooner or later he's going to hit. I think it's sooner. Laporta, 7th best matchup. I like him. He's a mid-range tight end 1 at all times. Moving on to the kickers, 7th worst matchup for Daniel Carlson, who has not been great. If you have him, you probably have to keep starting him and hope he finds a way here. 5th best matchup for Riley Patterson, who's been pretty good, gets a good matchup. I don't mind streaming him or playing him as a low-end 1 if you have to. Defenses, it is the 5th worst matchup for the Lions and the 8th worst matchup for the Raiders. I don't want either team. If I had to, I would far rather play the Lions, despite the fact that apparently the Raiders are a worse matchup for DSTs, but I don't care. I don't want to play either, but I'd play the Lions over the Raiders.
Yeah, I will say when I'm going to be a lot more confident in Mayer when Jimmy Garoppolo, whenever he comes back, like I will be much more bullish. It's just like it lowers the floor being the 3rd option with the backup quarterback. Like that just usually doesn't work out. So hurry up, come back Jimmy G so we can be all above the Mayer train.
Oh, see, I was looking at the other way. I was thinking, especially if it's Aiden O'Connell, tight ends are a check down machine for fucking young quarterbacks or shitty quarterbacks like Brian Hoyer. I was seeing that as a positive, but I guess Jimmy G's not exactly throwing downfield. But anyways, moving on. Rams and Cowgirls. We've got the number 1 matchup for the quarterback I just traded away in my Dynasty League. That would be Dak Prescott. I think he has become a high-end QB2 with low-end 1 potential. Stardom. Stafford, 6th worst matchup. I think you can still start him in this one. He's probably just a mid-range QB2 for me. What do you think?
Yeah, it feels weird to have Dak above Stafford, but like you just kind of have to with this matchup and trust into the Dak. He's still a talented quarterback. I know people hate on him, but it's like a good situation this week. So yeah, he's going to be the closer to the low end QB1, and Stafford will be like a mid range QB2 for me in the 2.
You know what's truly amazing is the fact that my computer can't stand 3 minutes of the stream without cutting out. But then when I load back in, it'll let me go an additional hour and a half without, like, nothing happens. I don't get it. It's like it cuts out 5 minutes into the podcast every time, reloads, and like it's like, oh, I'm good again. And then it's like, oh, okay, stream for the next 4 hours if you want. And I don't get it because I had it turned off, like I've been babying it in case I fried some, but I don't get it. Anyways, running backs.
That's weird.
Running backs, seventh worst matchup for the Rams. I don't want any part of this situation. Kyron Williams is on IR. Darrell Henderson would probably be my choice here. I could also see, oh my God, there's so many guys I can't even name it. What do we got? Ronnie Rivers, Zach Evans, who I was really low on all. You know, we had people in the pre-draft process saying, Zach Evans, if he hadn't been behind Quinchun Judkins, that's that and that.
Kendra Miller and stuff. Yeah, it's like,
he could have been the RB2 in this rookie class. No,
I'm sure.
I don't want any part of the Rams running backs. For Dallas, it is the 13th best matchup. You still got to start Pollard. He's producing as a high-end RB2. You just got to hope he finds his way here and starts picking up some goal line touches more and some touchdowns, and finds his way back as into the RB1 range. But what do you think about this shit show?
Pollard's the ultimate trust the process because his touches are fantastic and he's getting a ton of them down in the end zone. They're just not converting and not working. So if that flips and he hits the regression side of it, you're going to be looking great. On the Ram side, Henderson's like seeing the important touches and he's getting the pass access steps. I will say the interesting thing is like they're talking about bringing Gaskin along. So I'm curious how much he affects Freeman's role in this offense. And yeah, I just don't want no part of Zach Evans. Like he's a throwaway. He can get rid of him.
That's interesting on you saying Pollard's the ultimate trust the process, because I think depending on where you are or where you were pre-draft, he's the ultimate trust the process for confirmation bias. Because for me, this isn't a trust the process. This is a, see, motherfuckers, I told you when we increased his workload, this was going to happen and he was going to be dog shit. Whereas, you know, you could argue, but this is one of the things of fantasy football where you can literally find any player and argue. You can find someone arguing the trust the process. He's got the touches and the workload and he's going to get better. And then you have me going, trust the process. This is why he's bad. It's because he can't handle the workload. So this is a situation where it's confirmation bias depending on which side you were on preseason.
He's like, it's weird. He doesn't look as explosive as he did last year. And I think that broken leg is really messing with him. Like, I think that's the thing that's going under the radar. Like, he's just not the same player. So, like,
so they say, see, that's when I've heard a lot of, oh, well, it's a broken leg. It's healed. It shouldn't be, you know, it's not like it's a lingering injury. Bullshit, man. I played football. I get it. I didn't play professionally. I had a broken arm one year. The next year when I played any sport, I swear I played baseball, a non-contact sport. I would still notice I would be tender on the one side where I would still protect it on one side in anything I did. I'd go out I'd be snowboarding. I'd be ice skating. I'm protecting the broken arm. It's a mental block in your head where, you know, even the first time I got in a fight, you go to throw a punch and you're like, oh, it's my arm. You know, like it's, you get that mental block in your head. So I can only imagine what that's like for a running back who went to a broken leg and now has to face 300-pound linemen trying to kill you. That's a fucking mental thing, man. I figured, I kind of thought that would hurt him all season long. It took me years. Even now I have times where like I'm still guarded on my bad arm. Like, I don't know if that ever goes away. That's a bigger issue than anyone wants to. If you've never had a seriously broken bone that's really like been traumatic, you don't understand why that's so difficult to play through.
Yeah, it's very much a mental block. Like you have to overcome. Some people can, some people can't. It's just like maybe Pollard can't. I don't know, but like hopefully he can.
I get it. It's not something he's gonna, re-aggravate. He's not gonna re-break his leg, but it's a fucking mental block that's even more important. And that I know that could be why he's kind of hesitant, or it could be the workload. But we'll move on to tight end here. Jake Ferguson, who's the tight end breakout that I've been projecting. I got a lot of these rookie young tight ends here that I'm projecting to break out. He's the one who seems to have broke out and then went back into his cage. Top 12 matchup for him. I think I'll play him. You probably don't have to play either of these guys, him or Higbee, in an 11-12 matchup. They're 11th and 12th best. I'd rather play Ferguson by a mile. I don't think you have to play either with no bye weeks, but if you have to, I far prefer Ferguson. The kickers. Bad to middling to low end matchup for Aubrey. I don't mind him, don't love him, prefer not to play him. Worst matchup for what I have as Brett Maher, but is now Lucas Havrislick, whatever. Because it's funny, I looked and like one of the most efficient kickers in the league this year was Maher, and he got cut this week because that's how the NFL.
That made no sense. I was like, what the hell? Oh, by the way, we still got to do the wide receivers, but
yeah. Oh, did we? Yeah, like, so yeah. And the DSTs, sorry, I'll wrap it up quickly. The DSTs, third worst matchup for the Cowboys. I don't care. I'm starting the Cowboys. Eighth worst matchup for the Rams. I will still play the Rams defense. I don't mind them. I think the Cowboys are probably top 5. Rams top 12. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I'm with you on that with the defenses. And yeah, like the tight ends, they're kind of similar. Like people wanted to buy into Higbee for the longest time. He's just whatever tight end. Same thing with Ferguson. He's just not that good of a tight end. He just gets the role. So it's like, do with that what you will. It's just they're just floor plays.
Jesse has informed me that I have skipped over our wide receiver section, which is particularly interesting because it's there's some useful players in here. The best matchup for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a must start. He's performing more like a borderline 1-2. I don't think he's what the stud we thought he was going to be, but you still can't sit him, especially in this matchup. I'd be willing to bet he's top 10 to 12 for me. I don't really want anyone else on that pass catching group. Gallup, who am I missing? Cooks, desperation options at best. The Rams, it's the third worst matchup. I don't care. I'm starting Kupp and I'm starting Nakua, both as probably borderline 1s. And I think I can start Tutu Atwell as a 2-3, a 3 with 2 upside. I think I'm going in this one. I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but I think I want to go Lamb, Kupp, Nakua, which is funny because I like Lamb the least out of the 3, but Lamb doesn't have competition.
Right. It's like, it's so interesting with Kupp and Nakua. They're just fantastic, and you trust them every week. And where we get
like still would go Kupp, Lamb, Nakua, but still,
like I'm benching. I have a stack team, and I'm benching Lamb over. Like I'm starting Amon-Ra and Kupp over Lamb this week. I just want to see it with Lamb, man. It's been so frustrating with him. Like I probably should play him, but I'm like the vibes are just. We're going vibes, and it's probably a bad idea, but we're just DLOing it anyways. So yeah, like I'll have Lamb rank the highest, but I'm gonna have Kupp over him, and then I'll go Nakua after that.
Going vibes always works out well.
Yes, I know.
Next up, Ravens at Cardinals. This one's exciting. All right, quarterback situation. 4th best matchup for Lamar Jackson. I just traded for him in my Dynasty League, so he's going to be terrible this week. You still have to start him as a high-end to mid-range. He's probably 4, 5, 6 for a quarterback every week. He's a must-start. Worst matchup in the league for Josh Dobbs. The book is out on him after a couple of good starts. He's turned back into a pumpkin. I haven't even ruled out that it may be, hiccups back. It may be Kyler Murray this week. Having said that, if it's Dobbs, I want no part of him at all, even in a super flex. Well, I guess if you're desperate in a super flex as a low end too. If it's Kyler, I'd prefer to avoid him in his first start back. Super flex, you probably can't sit Kyler Murray though. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not playing Dobbs. Like we see him turn into a pumpkin. Then the fact is Halloween's very fitting that he's a pumpkin. And Lamar is just he's been like the best quarterback in the league. So yeah, like we're riding with Lamar like here on out. And particularly against the awful defense the Cardinals have, particularly in the passing game, Lamar should carve them up.
Moving on to the ugliest running back situation of any game we've had. 4th best matchup for the Ravens, 17th best matchup for the Cardinals. I don't want to start anybody. Conventional wisdom says start Gus Edwards. But the problem is, he's not going to have an 80-yard reception. I don't trust that the Ravens trust him enough. He should be an RB2, at least a flex-worthy option, but he could disappear at any minute with Justice Hill. And then on the other side of the ball, we have what? Keontae Ingram. It could be him, but it could be DeMarcado. It could be player whose name I've forgotten. But, we have 4 to 6 running backs in here. I don't think – if you told me any of them finished as an RB2, I wouldn't be surprised. I also don't want to start a single one of them, even as a flex. My favorite would be Gus Edwards in a desperation situation, but I don't like any of these guys.
Yeah, I'm playing Edwards as RB2 in this matchup. Like the way he works is when they get a lead and they just pound the clock with Edwards. That's how I expect this game to go. And usually when this happens, sometimes we get like a game where it flips on that. And
I
Team
just worry
Mercado,
it's Justice Hill. I worry at
yeah,
any second they seem to just randomly throw Justice Hill in and just say, well, fuck Gus Edwards.
yeah, it's weird. You kind of like with Edwards, the floor is lower, like because of that. I'm just trusting in the game script and all of that for him. And then on the flip side, I'm gonna have DeMarcado as a flex that I'm playing in a few spots. He's been by far like on the field the most for the Cardinals the past 3 weeks. And he finally 2 out of 3 weeks he got the workload, 1 he did not. So I'm just betting on them, just trusting with DeMarcado being the guy moving forward.
All right, on to the wide receivers. We have the 6th best matchup for the Ravens. I'm not playing OBJ. I'm not playing Bateman. I don't even know if they're playing between their injuries and whatnot. Zay Flowers is an absolute smash for me. I think he is a high to mid-range wide receiver 2. Hollywood Brown gets the 26th best matchup, so it's not a great matchup. I'm still starting him as probably a low-end 2, high-end 3. I don't really want to start. So I've got 2 solid wide receiver 2s here, and then a bunch of players I don't want to start. So, like, we have basically this game is like Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and 2 receivers, and I don't want anybody else.
Yeah, like I'm worried about Marquise. Reminds me a lot of Calvin Ridley with this year, where it's just like he's being involved. Sometimes he's not seeing all of the volume in the world, so it's just kind of like you can kind of trust him, you kind of can't. And that's more Dobbs than anything else. Like he's just not a good quarterback, so it really suppresses Hollywood Brown. And I like him as a player. Like I've always liked him. It's just I hate the situation. The flip side, Zay is a smash. You just play Zay no matter what. Like he's too good, and he's the focal point of that offense. If you want to take a dart throw on pick your other Ravens wide receiver, go for it. But I don't want to do that.
We have the 2nd and 3rd worst matchups for tight ends. I don't care. Mark Andrews is a top 3 every week. On the card side of the ball, for a guy who really hates tight ends, and I always hate young rookie tight ends, I'm surprisingly high on this year's young tight ends, as I am stashing Trey McBride quite a bit. Ertz is on IR, I believe.
Yep.
I like McBride. I think he's going to get himself into the tight end 1 conversation. I think right now he's a borderline 1-2 in this matchup this week. Start him if you have to. Obviously, Andrews is far better. The defenses, 8th best matchup. Kickers, 8th best matchup for Justin Tucker, who's like kicker 14 on the year. I don't care. You probably got to just keep rolling with him. Matt Prater, 11th best matchup. He has not been good. I would like to get away from Prater if possible. I don't think the Cardinals score enough to be useful for him. DSTs, 17th best matchup for the Cards, 19th best matchup for the Ravens, so neither is really a matter, or it doesn't really matter to either. I far prefer the Ravens, despite the fact that the matchup is allegedly tougher. I think the Ravens, for me, are probably 8 to 10, 8 to 12. The Cardinals, I think they're in the 15 range, so I don't really want anything to do with them. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna fire up the Ravens defense. I know like the data tells us one thing, but like we've seen Dobbs the past couple of weeks, he's worse and worse. So this should be a boom game for them. And on the tight ends, like I'm rolling with McBride over the young rookie Mayer. Like that's where I'm at with those 2 at the moment. It's gonna change, but like I like what I'm seeing from McBride. So like this week I'm starting him over Mayer.
That's tough because I really like both of them. And I have a team where I'm holding both of them. I don't know. That's a tough one, but I get the logic here. I just, yeah, okay. I don't hate it. All right, moving on to 2 teams I hate because I grew up a Lions fan. We've got Vikings at Packers. Quarterbacks, top 10 matchup, 10th actually for Jordan Love, who's looked terrible recently. I think he's probably still around QB 15. So start him in Superflex, probably not in single. Kirk Cousins, it is the 8th worst matchup for him. I don't care. Cousins has come back to earth a bit. I'm still starting him as what he always was, a high-end QB2. So I think we got a QB high-end 2 and a mid-range 2 here. I far prefer Cousins, despite the fact that Green Bay's defense is much tougher and there's no Justin Jefferson. I just don't trust Jordan Love. What do you think?
Yeah, we saw last week what Cousins did against a good defense. Like he was fantastic in that game. I expect that could continue. He's just a good NFL quarterback. We don't know that about Jordan Love, and he should be someone we have confidence in. We just don't, and he has not been good. So I guess you can stream Jordan Love if you really want to, but I would prefer to go other ways with him. I just don't trust him, even though the Vikings defense is not good.
Running back, we have the third best matchup for Alexander Madison. He should be an RB2 and push for RB1. This is another matchup where I don't like Alexander Madison, but if you can't start him in this matchup, when the hell can you start him? So start him and just hope he's an RB2. Sixth worst matchup for Aaron Jones, who's battled through some health and whatnot. The Vikings actually are surprisingly good against the run. I'm still starting Jones over Madison if given the option. A.J. Dillon's factored in a bit. I don't mind him as an emergency flex, but for me, I really only want to start Jones, and even Jones, I think, is more of a high to mid-range too. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the whole injury concern with Aaron Jones. Like, he played a minimal role last week, so if they don't ramp him up, it's probably going to be similar. And on the flip side, Akers had more touches than Madison last week, so, like, I have no idea how his backfield's going to shake out. Like, it just more seems like I'm trying to stay away until it, like, determines which way it's going to go, but, like, what we saw, they just went to Akers halfway through the game and basically just diminished Madison, so I really just kind of avoiding these running backs this week.
Wide receivers, we have the 10th worst matchup for the Vikings. Jordan Addison is still probably a mid-range 2 with low-end 1 potential. I my dynasty league there where I haven't really needed him, and he has been on my bench every week up until last week. Didn't realize he is wide receiver 14 on the year, so there's nobody else here really. I want to start him as my wide receiver 2. Osborne, desperation. Powell, even more desperation. Top 7 matchup here for the Packers. I still want Addison in a bad matchup over any of these 3 options because I don't want to play. Is it Dobbs? Is it Reed? Is it Watson? I think at this point it's Dobbs, Watson, Reed. I still want Addison first out of the 4.
Yeah, it's Addison by a wide margin over the other guys. With Watson, he's dealing with that injury. We don't know if he's playing or not, so it's treacherous. I think of Osborne as kind of the Joshua Palmer, where like he's just going to give you 10 points, give or take, each week, and that's kind of what he's going to give you. So like you can flex him if you need to, but like there's just not really much of a ceiling. And yeah, if Watson's hurt, Dobbs is going to rise in my rankings because he's been pretty solid this year. So I'll have like Dobbs as a low end, wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 otherwise.
15th best matchup for the Packers tight ends. Musgrave at this point is probably somewhere in the high to mid-range tight end 2 range. If you got to play him, I think for me he's more of a stash in hopes he can emerge. 23rd or 10th worst matchup actually for TJ Hawkinson. Don't care. He's likely to finish as either tight end 2 or 3 on the week, so you got to play him. The kickers, 12th best matchup for Greg Joseph. He has not been good. I don't want to play him regardless of the matchup. Middle of the pack matchup for the rookie Andrews Carlson, who has been decent. He's not a terrible streaming option. I wouldn't go out of my way to pick him up, but with buys, if you probably don't have to play him. So I don't think either of these kickers cracks my top 12. Defenses, 11th best matchup for the Packers, who I don't mind streaming as a low-end DST1. I just got to hope that the Vikings don't get their shit together. 11th worst matchup for the Vikings. Don't particularly want to start them. They are normally one of my bottom 6 defenses in the rankings. They are probably best on the waiver wire in every format.
It's weird because like they've been good for fantasy wise, the Vikings, but they're just not a good defense. So it's one of those things where like the stats are like okay, but you watch the team, you're like that's not a good defense. And then we get the tight ends, like a Hawkinson, and then what's his face, Musgrave. He's continuing to deal with injuries. This is what happened in his college career, like on nonstop injuries, and he's got another injury right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna avoid Musgrave for the time being until he gets healthy.
Let's close this one out with a barn burner here. Is this the 1 and 2 QB1 or the 101 and the 102? It is, isn't it?
Yep.
Nice. I didn't realize that. A little added excitement there. The whole week I might make a video out of this comparing the games of the 1 and the 2. All right, so it's the 13th best matchup for Bryce Young, who has looked like a rookie this year. He is low-end QB2 consideration only. CJ Stroud coming off a bye, 23rd best matchup, so not a good one. If you need him as a QB2, I have absolutely no problem firing him up. He probably is QB 14 or 15 for me this week. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting with Bryce. They're finally handing over the play calling duty to Thomas Brown. So I'm curious how they're going to change how they go about calling the offense. Like there was a lot of rank involvement before. So we'll see what changes. But Young's finally coming along. He looks better in his last few performances, where he's actually like a streamable quarterback. Going against the Houston defense, he's a little bit lower. But yeah, Stroud looked the part of QB1 like ever since he stepped on the field this year, and he's been elite as a rookie. So yeah, like I'm firing up Stroud.
This is the matchup of the underperforming running backs who should hit this week. Second best matchup for Pierce. If you got him, this is a case of you got to play him this week. And if he doesn't produce, you got to move on because he has to smash. Ninth best matchup for the Panthers. You have to. So Pierce, I would say, is an RB2, mid-range to high end. He should be. Sanders, about the same. If he plays, if he doesn't, it's Chuba Hubbard with less upside. I don't really want any of the three running backs I just named. I guess you could even throw in Devin Singletary. I don't want any of them, but if you've got Sanders or Pierce, you probably have to roll with them as your RB2.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing is these guys, you don't want to play them. And with Sanders in particular, he's been just not good. Like he just doesn't fit with what they're doing. So I don't know how that's going to work. Actually, this applies to both these running backs. They both have just been not good. Like Pierce has been extremely inefficient. So if you want to stash Singletary and kind of watch how it plays out, go for it. And on the flip side, I think I have Hubbard ranked above Sanders this week. So that tells you how I am with these two running backs.
Wide receivers. Fifth worst matchup for the Panthers. Don't care. I am starting Adam Thielen until that train derails. I want nothing else to do, or nothing to do with anyone else on there. No, what do we got? DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo. Yeah. He was the stash in Dynasty, but I don't think the profile was ever there, so he was a long shot who got overdrafted. So give me Thielen as a low-end 1, high-end 2. On the Texans side, 19th best matchup. Dell is probably a 2-3. Nico is probably a 2. They got Robert Woods. They got a whole bunch of people. I think I want Thielen more than any Texans receiver, but I think I prefer Nico and then Dell, and then I don't really want anyone else unless I'm desperate.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thielen's been a stud. I was watching his Game 6 tape, and I broke it down, and I was, holy crap, they were scheming him open all of the time. So yeah, if that continues, he's going to be a wide receiver 1 rest of the season. Like it's really hard to lower him too far in rankings. And I like Nico this week. He's going to be like a mid-range wide receiver 2. Dell's finally back healthy, so he's going to be a low-end wide receiver 2. It's just now that he's finally healthy, we'll see him kind of take over the role before he had that concussion. So I'm excited for Dell this week.
All righty. Tight ends. Fifth best matchup for Hayden Hurst, who seems to have fallen off. I want no part of that unless you are in some kind of absolute, desperate situation. 16th best matchup for the Texans. Dalton Schultz, I don't mind. I think he's probably a low-end tight end 1, which doesn't say much, but he's probably touchdown dependent. I know it's risky with the receivers coming back. Who we got? Dell back. Moving on to the kicker, we have Eddie Pinheiro, who is still the lowest started kicker in my research. I want no part of him in the 6th worst matchup. He's bad. 12th worst matchup for Kaimi Fairbairn, who has been like the 3rd or 4th best kicker in football. And if I hadn't seen the numbers for myself, I would have never believed it. If you have Fairbairn, you should start him this week, even in a bad matchup. He's been fucking awesome, which I didn't know.
I just checked. I was like, holy crap.
He's like kicker 4. I looked through my numbers. So I'm a big spreadsheet guy for a lot of my research. And I'm looking through it. I'm going, that's got to be a fucking typo. I'm like, I must have clicked I put in 10 points and it was supposed to be 1, or I put in 100 instead. I'm good. I'm going, no, he's the top 5 kicker. I don't know how that happened. But,
yeah, and the offense is good. Like it makes sense. Like he's just rolling.
Close it out with the defenses. 8th best matchup for the Texans. I don't mind streaming them against the rookie. They're probably in the 10 to 12 range for me. Panthers get the 2nd worst matchup, and I want no part of them, especially with them putting their best defensive player, Jeremy Chin, on the IR this week. So play the Texans, don't play the Panthers.
100%. Just don't touch the Panthers defense. That just sounds like a nightmare. And I will say Schultz, I'm going to lower him because Dell's back. He's been more involved the past couple of weeks. His usage is probably more than likely going to revert to what it was, where he's like a low-end tight end too. So, yeah, I'm not really interested in Schultz this week either.
All right, fair enough. Well, that will conclude our NFL Week 8 NFC home game preview. Check back on Sunday at noon, where we will do our live sit-start show answering your lineup and trade questions. We go right up until kickoff. And then we will be back Monday again at noon with the recap of Week 8. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. We will see you Sunday at noon. For Aaron and Jesse, thank you for tuning in to the Mad Science Lab podcast.
Oh, we just got a comment.
What? does that always happen? Right? It happened yesterday too. Someone messaged me right as I was about to hit out. Okay. Hello, I'm in a 10-man full PPR. Can't decide what RB to bench. Pollard, JT, Swift, Mostert. I know this is going to sound terrible. I think I'm benching Mostert. He's dealt with an injury all week, and Wilson's back. I know that sounds crazy, but for me, it's either Mostert or if you don't want to bench him, I bench Pollard. You can't bench Taylor or Swift. Taylor Swift.
It's exactly right. With the injury and stuff, I'm benching Mostert. If he's a full go, I'm not going to bench him, but I just don't know until the game happens. So for now, Mostert's going to be the guy I'm benching.
Yeah, and if he is a full go, you bench Pollard?
I'll probably actually bench Taylor. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'd bench Taylor out of the three.
Yeah, I think your best bet is to just hope that there's the health issues linger with Wilson, and I'd leave him on the bench. Yep. All right. If there's no other comments, it happens every show. I don't know why. One sec. We had it the other day where we had no comments all show. Even this one, no comments all show, and then with 8 seconds left. Also missing Jefferson, got injured. I don't know who to start besides Godwin. Godwin already played, so you can't start him.
The first two wide receivers, Myers and Downs.
Yeah, Myers is my. I would rank them Myers, Downs, Deontay, Michael Thomas. Thomas is too. He's just 10 points every time. So
yeah, he doesn't give you. Yeah, exactly. I have that.
Yeah, that would be my choice. Okay, that was the one you got. Okay. All right. Unless you've got another question here, I believe we're going to wrap it up. Oh, one sec. What's the update I'm getting? Jerome Ford practices on Friday, listed as questionable. Huh? He was on IR.
What the hell? So he's on IR, but they said it was a high ankle sprain. So I don't. Dude, it's the weirdest reports coming out of Cleveland. They're like, oh, it's an ankle sprain that's everywhere. Not quite high.
It's not just Cleveland. It's a lot of things where it's like, this guy's completely healthy, and then he doesn't play. Or,
yeah. I guess, the teams don't really have to give us info unless they're talking about them missing the game. So, that's the whole Bijan thing. They knew he was going to play, so they didn't have to report anything. So, it's it makes sense. It's okay.
Okay, Stu. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Catch us again Sunday live from noon till 1. Thank you for tuning in to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Take care, everyone, and good luck in week 8.
Goodbye.